Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Angela to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Foster.
Present.
Hearn.
Present.
Kashulik.
Present.
Lee.
Present.
Sampu.
Present.
And Tangney present. That's 6. We have a quorum. Administrator Ed Hoops.
Present.
Staff member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
We're good to go, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold public hearing on Tuesday, April the 29th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for the applications of Sig Harbor LLC, Brian Hill, James and Cody, trustees, Centerville Qualified Personnel Residence Trust, Sue Bonstein, trustee, Gladstone LP. This hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling an appointment by sending email request to Ed Hoops at 230 South Street, Hyannis. This hearing is being recorded and broadcast on Town of Barnstable Government's Access Channel. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this hearing. Hearing none. Tonight's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisement. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participations. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, cited by the governor on March 28, 2025, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1. The hearing will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2. The real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 893-2979-0989 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email the comments to edwin.hoops@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. We have 2 RDA tonight. The first one is Sig Harbor LLC, lift existing house, install new concrete foundation. The work includes removal of the sunroom and a 185 square feet addition at 100 and 112 Washington Avenue, Hyannisport, as shown on the Assessors Map 287, Parcel 116 and 116-01. This is Stuart Clark.
Chairman Lee, am I good to go?
Yes.
All right. Just to introduce myself, I'm Stuart Clark. I'm with Green Seal Environmental. On behalf of the applicant, who is Archright, who is the builder for Sig Harbor LLC, the owner of the property. We're here before you tonight to seek a negative determinations for activities in the buffer zone. This work is for renovation of the main house by lifting it in the air and installing a new concrete foundation underneath. The work will include a small kitchen addition as was described in the public ad. Existing conditions, the house is on Washington Ave in the Hyannisport Village area. It was built in 1920.
Stuart, can you share the screen in terms of the plan?
Oh, okay.
You don't mind?
I don't mind. Actually, I think it's beneficial. Where's the share button? Here we go. And open that. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, I must have shared the wrong screen. Oh, here it is.
Yes, going.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll just maximize that. I'm going to go down to the existing condition because that's where I started. This house is one of the majestic houses in the High Port area. It's a beautiful house that looks over the harbor. It was built in 1920. It's improved. The lot here is improved. It's actually two lots, 100 here and 112 in the back. Both common ownership. There's two resource areas identified on this plan. If you don't mind me zooming in a little bit, we have a wetland that was flagged by Tunison Environmental Consultants in October of 2024. And they're represented by flags number A1 through A9 up here at the top. The 50-foot and 100-foot buffers are shown by the red lines. And as you can see, it clips the existing structure in this area over here, the 100-foot buffer. This is the sunroom, and this is where we're going to be doing the kitchen work. There's also a coastal bank that's identified right on the other side of the road here, which goes down to the ocean. We did two survey transects on that bank, and using Mass DEP policy 92.1, we identified the approximate top of that bank and did a 100-foot offset, which is shown by this last red line right here in front of the house. So those are our resource areas, the wetlands and the coastal bank over here, and the buffer zones, 1, 2, and 3. And the house is strategically, I don't know if it was by design, but it's kind of right in the middle of it all, which is a good thing. The house here extends approximately 20 feet into the buffer zone. And the total area that is in the buffer zone from this house is around 660 square feet in the buffer zone. The buffer zone is all lawn all the way down to the wetland line. Actually, it goes beyond the wetland line and to the tree line. The flags are actually in the grass. And I guess when Mr. Tunison did these, he did it based on soils and not vegetation, because this is all lawn in here. The parcel is not in the flood zone. It's in the 500-year flood zone, so we don't have that issue either. And the house does not, like we said before, it does not come into the coastal bank. All right, so that's the existing conditions. So the proposed activity we're going to do is that this house hasn't been touched in many a year, probably 50 years. It's pretty much in original condition. It's kind of degraded a little bit. It's been on the market for a while. I didn't go to the next screen, sorry. So, the applicant is going to come in. We want to lift it. We're going to take off the sunroom to the east side. We'll have to take off the carport on this side, take off these two decks and a portion of the front deck just to get access in here, because they'll put I-beams underneath the building and lift it. There's only one small portion of the house that has a full foundation in it now, and it's right over here. The rest of the house is in a crawl space. We're going to lift the house up and excavate and pour a new concrete foundation and reset the house down. We do not intend to put this is the demolition plan that I provided with you just to show you the hatched areas where we're taking. I'm going to go to the proposed condition plan. Oh, I better find it. Okay, this is the proposed conditions. The house is going to be basically on the same footprint everywhere. There will be a little bit of 3-foot bump out here, but that's outside jurisdictional areas, outside the coastal bank and the 100-foot. We're not going to put back that carport, the sunroom that was over here, but we are going to square this off and do a little building addition here, which comes out to about 185 square feet. There will be access stairs going down to the basement for a second means of egress, which is required by building code. The two decks there will be rebuilt. and the carport, or he calls it a porte cochere, pardon my French, will be rebuilt. Currently, this is a patio on grade. It's going to be, after construction, it will be a covered porch with decking. That's pretty much the proposed work. If I go to the next screen, no, I don't have it on there. Like I was indicating, that most of the work is outside the buffer zone. When they're refacing all this and they're removing this, that's all outside the buffer zone. But when we get into the buffer zone, there are going to be heavy equipment, operating in this area, and it's going to dig up the lawn, as they, twist and turn to get these I-beams underneath the building. So there is going to be work in the buffer zone of both the coastal bank and the wetland in the back. This area will be reestablished and reseeded when we're done. I thought I had one more sheet. No. Pardon me. Where did that go? All right. Well, I'll just keep rolling on. We intend to take the excavated material and pile it in the front yard. This is in the coastal bank area, but we have a stone wall and a paved travel way before we get to the coastal bank. Any dirt or soil stockpile will be ringed with erosion controls, and there would be erosion controls set from the carriage house up to the property line here and along the stone wall in this direction. The underlying soils here are Merrimack coarse sand, and we did 2 test pits and it verified that. So the chance or the opportunity for fine sediments to migrate is very low in this material. So we don't have a real concern with rainstorms moving the material we've stockpiled in the front. Once the okay, last one. I'm looking at my talking points over here. The last thing is we're going to need a concrete washout station, as shown on the detail here, C5. Basically, it's a ring of hay bales and it's lined. And when the concrete trucks are done, they wash out into this, and then we let it solidify there before getting rid of it. That will be located between this. The coastal bank buffer zone and the wetland buffer zone. So it's going to be in this area somewhere. Exact position is not known at this point. After concrete foundation is poured, we're going to set it right down in the same spot. So in conclusion, this project is to renovate one of the, Hyannisport's iconic homes. It's going to be rebuilt in the same architectural fashion. It's going to look pretty much the same. We've been to Historic Commission and went through that process. All of the housework is between the 150-foot buffer of the wetland. There's nothing being proposed within 50 feet of the wetland. And I just wanted to note that the carriage house here, we're not proposing any work on this. And the applicant and the owner recognize that if we do any work on this, we're going to have to file a notice of intent with this board. And with that, I would kindly request that the commission issue a negative determination, and I will take any questions the commissioners may have.
Thank you. Question from the commissioner, Pete.
Yeah, so let's talk about a buffer zone here. We, of course, everyone on the commission, I'm sure you do, sir, as well, know that the purpose of a buffer zone is to limit or completely ameliorate runoff pollutants from the upland. Remind me, do we have a lot of woody vegetation within the buffer zone at this house?
Sir, through the chairman, the tree line is shown approximately here. So there is not very much wooded vegetation in this area, no.
Okay,
It's-
because certainly wooded vegetation or woody vegetation, I say even shrubs and such, are pretty good uptake of nutrients and reasonable long-term storage. I think I remember that you said it's mostly grass down to the wetland. Okay, so what we have here, at least in this commissioner's opinion, is an opportunity to make our coastal embayments more resilient to nutrient runoff associated with this house. With the you don't have a fully vegetated 0 to 50 buffer. And certainly my understanding of the historical positions that this commission has taken, that in the absence of a 0 to 50 fully vegetated buffer, work in the 50 to 100 needs mitigation, again, in that 0 to 50 to lessen and improve, I should say in this point, the effect on our bodies of water, which we are supposed to be protecting. So this commissioner would very much like to see essentially a 3 to 1 for that 180-foot plus addition to the house within that 0 to 50, probably on a strip along the edge of the wetland, just to try to lessen the amount of everything from nutrients. I don't know if they add herbicides or anything is added to the lawn, but just to lessen what's getting into our water bodies. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
No problem. Can I have a rebuttal, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, we understand the delicate nature of the wetlands, and in no way are we trying to avoid doing mitigation. This is really a two-phase project, and maybe I should have started with that. We're trying to get the building up in there because it's a long lead time to do all the work on the main house. But the applicant is going to come back to the commission with a notice of intent to work on the carriage house. At that time, we are going to propose mitigation because your bylaw says that under an RDA, we do not have to provide mitigation. But we will under a notice of intent between the 0 and the 50. So there's going to be some landscaping. We got to do some work maybe on the septic system. But we're just here today before you just to lift the house so we can get that work started because it's such a long lead time. And it takes so long to do all that work. But subsequently, we're going to come in and we're going to file to fix the carriage house because the foundation's cracked in the back corner right about this area, and it's settled down probably maybe 8 inches. So this structure is not in good shape either. But there are plans to fix that up and renovate that. But I advise my clients that that would be a bigger bite. And it would take longer to get approved than doing an RDA for this house project now. And we would certainly entertain any conditions. Well, I don't even know how you would do that, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. We are going to come back with a notice of intent to do that carriage house, do the mitigation in accordance with your bylaw.
So let me follow up, please, a little bit then on that suggestion there. We have here in front of us 180-something feet of new hardscape, new construction within our jurisdiction, which if maybe we shouldn't have had an RDA for this, but essentially if we cannot ask for a 3 to 1 mitigation for that extra addition, we lose, I think, I could be corrected, we lose that opportunity to ask for about 550 something feet of increased buffer vegetation, which we don't have right now. So I stand firm. If you want just an RDA, I suggest you not ask for that 180-foot addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. Bill?
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with what Pete said. We have a wetlands bylaw for the town, and it does talk about, for a project like this, requiring a 3 to 1 mitigation for increased hardscape in the 50 to 100 zone. However, we do also have what is called, and I have it in front of me here, the Office Operating Procedures for Filing Wetland Projects. And it's just an advisory document that Ed Hoops and Darcy, who preceded him, have for figuring out, is it an NOI or is it an RDA? And what it says is that for an addition, if you have less than 400 square foot addition in the 50 to 100, it's an RDA. That is basically, it contradicts our bylaw. And I think it's done because it's like, well, it's in the 50 to 100. Well, it's quote, if you will, de minimis because it's only 400 square feet or less. And it doesn't mean that that's the law. It's just how the administrative staff, decide whether could it be an RDA or could it be an NOI. And it's up to the commission to decide whether or not, it flies or doesn't. And I was thinking about this project when I looked at it and I thought 400 square feet, if it was as much as 400 square feet, you'd end up having potentially mitigation of 1,200 square feet of plantings in a lawn that goes right down to the edge of the wetland. And 1,200 square feet is like a lot. And in the case of this particular project, 185 square feet is about 550 square feet. In other words, a 10-foot wide by 50-foot band of plantings. And I think that, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we should, in some way, I don't know, Tom, I'm speaking to you, Tom. Is there some way of perhaps revising this so-called office operating procedures for filing wetland projects, where it for 50 to 100 foot work that's what they said is less than 400 square feet, it's just an RDA. And I feel like that's kind of giving away something when you have so much development. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not liking the fact that there isn't that planting, because this is a place that's the 0 to 50 is really all lawn. And so I guess I'm concerned about that. I have two questions for Stuart. And one is that you mentioned that the stockpile dirt is going to be put over there, and you've got a stone wall and yada yada. Is that stuff going to stay on site? That's one question. And the other is that in that figure that we're looking at right now, your plan, the sunroom, it says the sunroom is not going to be replaced, and yet the landward section that jumps out, that bumps up at the most, if you will, northerly part of the thing, it's going to be adjacent to that addition. Right there, right where you are. That is essentially the area that was the sunroom, I think, right? So is that becoming part of the house?
I guess there's two questions, Mr. I can't read it. Hearn, my eyes are not good. The sunroom's actually in this location here.
Oh, okay. I was thinking on the other figure, it looked like it was bumped up and you were filling in a thing.
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to come off. We're going to square this off. This is where the addition is. I have the architect on the line here too, if you want to speak.
But I see, it looked like you're just filling in that section there that was to the
right here?
left. Yeah, it looked like you're filling in the left of the sunroom. Which is kind of what it looked like. See that? Looked like.
If I may, this is Kevin Doffin, the architect for the project. So the board member is correct. So the jog that's currently, I don't know if anyone can see my cursor, but the sunroom volume is staying put, and we are squaring off that back corner. It's not a sunroom anymore. It is going to be part of the.
It's part of the house.
Okay, that was my mistake.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's just okay. How about the dirt? You're leaving the dirt on site? I don't.
Well, they will segregate. I assume the contractor is going to segregate the two dirt piles. They'll pull off the loam and stuff and stick it in one pile, and any sandy subsoil they'll put in a second pile. Any material that's not needed after the house is set back down to smooth it out will be removed from site.
Okay. I would have to, well, you were talking about how, you want to move fast. You don't want to have a lot of complications and whatnot. And you've got this RDA. I would say that we had a project somewhat similar to this where the same issue of mitigation came up. And when the person came back with some plantings that were equal to whatever their mitigation need was, it went through like you wouldn't believe. It was like a unanimous vote. We all cheered. We said, great. And so my sense is that if you were to refile this as an NOI, put in the plantings for the mitigating of the 550 square feet or whatever, 185 times 3, plant down near the wetland, this commissioner would vote yes, and you'd be done. I think everybody would be very happy. This is not a bad project. I just think it would be nice to have the plantings, and we can't, because it's an RDA, require any kind of mitigation. It's just, so I would highly encourage you to come back with an NOI for this. At least, I don't know how other people, they may vote yes anyway, but that's,
Yeah.
anyway.
And Bill, we are going to come back with an NOI to do the
That's for that. I'm talking about for this project we're now currently talking about. Because if you need mitigation for the carriage house, then there would be potentially more mitigation down there as well. And I think filling in that, if you can get 555 square feet on this project plus another, and I don't know what you're doing down there, you might get another 555 square feet or whatever down there, and so they'd end up having 1,000 square feet or 12.
And that's what we fully plan to do.
Right, but I would add the extra 555 that you're going to do for having made this particular addition.
Could we offer that as the thing is, we don't want to put in plantings we're just going to pull out, because we got to get all around this building again too, with equipment and to pick it up, fix the foundation. So I would hate to plant plantings just to have them pulled up.
But isn't there a place that's further?
That's what I was going to say. Can we do like
up in that area
condition of approval? Do 550 feet up in this area?
Yeah, we can. Yes, you can.
And Kevin, would the client be amenable to that?
Yeah, I think, we know that ultimately we were going to have to do some mitigation planting anyway. So yeah, I think the client would be amenable to that. I guess exactly where it's located, maybe we can review with the board when we do review the carriage house project. I guess maybe one question is, can we have a conditional approval for that amount of mitigation, the 500, whatever it would be, square feet, get the main house approved, and then come in with an actual planting plan for the carriage house application to show exactly where we intend to place it.
Could I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that, let's see, we're talking about, if we're calling it mitigation, but because this is an RDA, there is no way we can monitor the situation and verify after the fact that this planting, if we want to call it mitigation, which it really isn't, was actually put in. So I think, if we really want to talk about these plantings, it's got to be with an NOI.
Yeah.
We're just wasting our time by, fiction. We're fictionalizing this.
Well, your whole bylaw says that up to 400 square feet, you can do an RDA. And I also sought
no, that's not our bylaw. Sorry, that's not our bylaw. These are guidelines that we're talking about. And I think part of the reason for that is if you had happened to have an undisturbed buffer, we would not be talking about mitigation at all,
Right.
For activity between the 50 and 100. So that is not in our bylaws. In fact, I think it would be good if Ed spoke to that because he
Well-
uses that guideline all the time. Ed, would you want to comment on that?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, Stuart came in and spoke to me several months ago, asked about it. I also consulted with Tom. Your guidelines specifically say what they are doing right now is certainly within the rights of an RDA. That's the guidelines. You as a commission recently reviewed all of those guidelines about 6 or 7 months ago. I think this is a project that is quite doable under an RDA. I think that I understand that the concern for mitigation planting, but again, we don't do mitigation planting for RDAs. I think this is a reasonable project under the RDA guideline and under the RDA application process. I don't know if you want to see what I don't know how many people actually went to the site to see it. I can show you. You're gonna have to drop your.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay, let me.
All yours, Ed.
Thank you. So this is the aerial photo. This is the house that they're working on currently. They're going to be raising. The wetland is approximately right here. So it's over 100 feet. It's almost 100 feet away, give or take, with the scaling. It's all grass. It's a very low grade. There's not a lot of a hill there to it or anything else. It's just a wide open field of grass. So I don't think it's a huge ask under this particular set of circumstances. But again, it's your right to make that decision however you want to make it. But I would recommend and stand by the RDA.
But you would not, given it's going to be an RDA, you would not say we're going to do mitigation, right? Because mitigation.
Yeah, we don't have the ability to ask for mitigation.
Right.
Under the RDA, we cannot put any condition in, and including the mitigations.
Tom, could I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ed, you said that whatever you said, 7 or 8 either weeks or months ago, we reviewed these guidelines. I was not part of that. I don't remember having a commission meeting where we went through and reviewed these. It does not ring a bell.
We did several changes to the guidelines. We sent out the guidelines and asked for any comment from you, and we received no comments. You agreed with the changes we were making. I believe they had to do with. I believe it was with irrigation and there was one other thing. Maybe, I think it was maybe with the invasive treatment.
That might have been.
We were doing invasives.
And I think we were approving for that edits that someone had recommended, and did we want to approve those? But I don't remember a request to literally look at this because, for example, this RDA for less than 400 square feet was never something we ever looked at, discussed, or otherwise. And I would really, I think for a case like this or any others where the lawn is basically going right down to the wetland, I think having an opportunity to put in, 550 square feet of plantings right up against the wetland would be a good thing. And we haven't had that opportunity to make that change. And I would encourage our commission to be able to make that change.
Well, Bill, for that guideline, we can schedule some things. I mean, sometime later to kind of looking at that and review that if you want. But right now, this is a guideline. I mean, we always have the option of rejecting that application and said, this is a mitigation required and all that stuff.
Per our ordinance, per our bylaw, the town bylaw, which calls for it. Anyhow, this is a worthwhile discussion, I think. Thank you.
Pete?
Yeah, given the absence of a buffer, that should be, in this commissioner's opinion, a fairly big flag that, well, we really do like buffers, and that when we have the opportunity, because of increased building within our 0 to 100, that we say that really shouldn't be an RDA because there does not exist any buffer. So I'm going to stand firm in my opinion that this was wrongly put forth to us as a commission as an RDA, given the specifics of this application before us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom. Tom,
Who's that?
Jeffrey, Tom.
Hi, Jeff.
Yes. A couple things. A project of this size and scope and cost, this is no small time project. I can't believe we just spent 20 to 30 minutes talking about something, RDA, NOI, et cetera, when the 550-foot mitigation requirement is, there's plenty of room for that mitigation. And I know, and I'm not quite sure why this is filed with an RDA where mitigation's not, suggested to be a lot, to be a given point. But in order for the gentleman, Mr. Clark, had talked about not wanting to put the mitigation and worrying about it being potentially in the way of their carriage house construction. This carriage house construction really only needs like a 15, to the I guess the north side of that roof deck on the carriage house, just an access machine wise 10 to 15 feet to the north of that right there. I really can't believe that that's a big deal. And I'm with Pete and Bill on this right here. And I know this is a quandary, but I'm not sure why we just can't ask the applicant to just include a 550-foot, 500 plus square foot mitigation planting on the top side of this plan right here for starters, knowing that they're coming back in for additional work with the carriage house.
Jeff, let me mention it again. Under the RDA, we cannot put any conditions, let's say monitoring conditions, annual report, and all this stuff for the mitigation area. If we think that we need more information if we think that we need to include the mitigations area as part of this project, the only option we have is to not approving the applicants to submit as an NOI.
Tom.
Yeah,
I totally understand that. That's why I'm suggesting that the cost of this project, I can't believe the applicant just isn't making this easy and being done in 2 minutes to move this along right here. So I'm with Bill and Pete is what I'm trying to tell you, Tom.
And NOI would be.
understand.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little befuddled here, right? I've come in and I've asked to do some work in accordance with your guidelines. I met with your administrator and he spoke with somebody on the board and they told me to do an RDA. We wanted to do an RDA just for timing. We are coming back. We're going to do landscaping. This isn't, like he says, it's a huge project. We're going to do landscaping. We're going to fix the carriage house. There's going to be driveway work. There's going to be a lot more coming forth. But for this portion, we simply just want to have the ability to get that house up in the air by June 1 so we can start the long process of getting that house put together. We are not trying to sneak anything under. We fully intend to do plantings and fix that buffer zone. I don't know what to say. I'm a little bit befuddled.
Can I suggest a solution for everyone's agreement here? Since I was the one who raised the stink about not being able to get this buffer. When the carriage house comes back in front of us, can we have a verbal agreement at this point? Again, it's verbal, but I will remember. Can we just say, on top of the mitigation required for the carriage house, in addition, they will be doing another 550 square feet of mitigation? That would solve all of this for me. Is that something that we can say sounds like a reasonable solution here for everybody?
More than happy to do that.
I'm not happy with that. I think that's a dangerous precedent to set.
Pete, what happens if they don't come back and do the carriage house?
Well, yeah, and we lose out. Now, I just have every belief that they are going to come back.
A huge
So you're right.
project.
Part of the problem is that they're in a hurry to get going. So how much time would it take to convert this into an NOI? Is this, Ed, you could give us guidance if, right? Is it a month, a couple of weeks?
I'm not the engineer, but the engineer would have to make that decision. But they've got everything that they could do. They could apply for the 27th of May. That's the earliest we can get them in now.
Okay, but how about that?
Well, the problem that lies there is that the full design of the carriage house and the landscaping is not complete. So
I'm not talking about the carriage house. I'm talking about the project we're considering now. I mean, you've got it pretty much put together, right? You're not starting from scratch.
Let me hear from Angela.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing all sides. I was wondering how quickly they could put together, since time is of an essence, an NOI, and what meeting we could fit it in. That's what I was trying to figure out. Because it sounds like all we have to add is mitigation to this NOI. I know it's different paperwork, and come back with it. It sounds like all the commissioners are going to approve it at that point. So time seems to be, when could they get it done as quickly, and when are our meetings? That's what I was going to ask.
Okay. What do you think? What is your turnaround time for including the mitigations as far as the NOI goes?
Are you asking me, Chairman Lee?
Yes.
I would. I had strict instructions that we needed to get that thing in the air by June 1. If we get to May 27th, then there's going to be a 20-day appeal period. We're going to be into July, and we're going to run out of time. It's not a big lift. We're not going to harm the resource areas, and we will take care of them when we do the carriage house. This is like a $12 million project. We're not going to run and hide once we get the house down. I don't know what to say. I would ask the board to vote on the RDA that's in front of them, and I would ask you to vote in the negative.
Can I have a request here of Mr. Clark?
Yeah.
Do I have from you, sir, as the lead person on this project, a verbal understanding and agreement that when the carriage house comes before us, you will, without us asking, without us making any demands, include on top of the carriages buffer improvement, an addition of 550 square feet associated with this project that you want as an RDA to get through really fast?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I actually—
I'll put it in writing if you need it.
I believe this man. He's coming back to us. I don't think he's going to run away. And that satisfies really my objection to making, I understand the quandary we're in. I'm trying to find a solution.
I appreciate it.
Let me go to Channel 18. Any public comment on this?
So this is Kevin Dauphiné speaking again. To Stuart's latest or last comment there about putting it in writing, would it be possible for us to actually add an amendment to our own application, RDA application, that we will add the mitigation plantings? Is that possible? Just to assure the board.
We have no way of confirming that you will have done what you've said you're going to do. That's the way the RDA works.
Hmm.
Yeah. Stuart, why is that rush in terms of the timing of the June 1st?
I'm not the contractor. I know that we have Ambrose Homes lined up to do the house lifting, and we're in his schedule. And if we lose him, we could lose months and months before he can come back.
Yeah, and as you guys know, Hyannisport's pretty busy in the summer too. So we'd like to get the house, lifted, foundation installed, and house back down before, the prime time for folks. My understanding, there's actually a wedding in town that the whole neighborhood's talking about. Not that that matters to the board, but yeah, there's a lot of timing issues that we'd like to get this resolved as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None? Let me try this and see how it goes. Could I have a motion to approve this as a negative determinations, allowing the applicants to coming back in on the carriage house NOI to include the additional mitigation as required for these expansions?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Foster,
No,
Hearn,
yes.
Koshulik,
No,
Sampu,
Yes.
Tangney, no,
Oh,
Lee,
No.
that's 4. It does
Well,
not
yep.
pass.
Okay.
It's a positive determination.
So let me do this. Could I have a motion to approve this as a positive determination?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Foster,
yes,
Hearn,
aye.
Koshulik,
yes,
Sampu,
Aye.
Tangney, aye, Lee,
Aye.
that's unanimous.
So that means that you have to file it as an NOI with the mitigations planting for this. Thank you.
Good night.
The next one is Brian Hill, remove railroad ties retaining wall and replace with stone retaining wall and extend wall 10 feet at 63 Satan Drive, Centerville, as shown on the Assessors Maps 209, parcel 027. Brian?
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're trying to just take those stone, or we're trying to take let me share my screen real quick. Oh, someone else is sharing? Okay.
Do you want me to do that, Brian, or do you have it?
I think I can do it. I have one of them here. So this is this wall right here. Can you see my cursor? I'm not sure.
Yes, we see it.
So this wall right here is a railroad tie wall, and we have been noticing, we just did some work on the house, and we've been noticing that there's been some erosion issues, and we want to kind of stop that by replacing this wall that's kind of deteriorated over time. I think it was installed in 1990, like right after Hurricane Bob, and we just want to replace it with a stone wall and then extend it to the gravel path that's already there, and that part would probably be like maybe a foot or two high, just to kind of square it all off, and then just replace this little section of wall that's within the 100-foot buffer, or this section right here, I guess, and replace it in kind with a stone wall, so that we can kind of make sure that we mitigate any erosion issues that we've been seeing, because we've been seeing some in these last couple of weeks since it's been raining a little bit, and yeah, we just want to replace it with a stone wall. I think even this is like this little section here. This is the kind of the proposed stone. It would be just right in the same place, and then we'd extend it a little bit, and it wouldn't be very high off the ground. It'd probably be about 2 or 3 feet at most off the ground, probably less, honestly, because it's the elevation there, and it would just be even. So yeah, we're not trying to lift a house. We're just trying to put this wall in because we've been seeing a lot of erosion issues.
When you replacing the existing railroad tie, are you replacing it at the same height?
So right now that wall is about like 3 feet tall, and so we were thinking we would elevate it to 4 feet just so that we would kind of even it out a little bit, and that's where we would stop.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Luis?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have my hand up?
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Any question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Anyone second?
Second.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney. Aye, that's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have two NOI tonight. The first one is Jamie and Cody, trustee, Centerville Qualified Personal Residence Trust, to replace existing bulkhead, timber bulkhead and stone revetment with a new vinyl bulkhead at 90 Short Beach Road, Centerville, as shown on the assessors map 0206 parcel 123. John.
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering and Consulting, representing the applicants. I'll work on pulling up the plan for you all. This property is all the way at the end of Short Beach Road. It's a little over a half an acre of land. It's surrounded to the west and north by the Centerville River. There's an existing dwelling, originally built in the 70s, rebuilt around 2007. Probably 3/4 plus of this is a stone riprap wall along the river bank, and it then connects to a timber bulkhead along the most southern portion of it. When we first visited the property, it was because the owners were concerned that the stone riprap is starting to settle down into the river. It's getting very sort of steep off the edge of the lawn, especially even they feel like the lawn's starting to lower at the patio corner. So our initial scope was to look at coming up for a better solution for that. The more that we looked at the site in its entirety, the timber bulkhead is not very long. It's very low. It's at really just above kind of the mean high water line. And if we're going to be getting in there with some access, it may make sense to just improve the situation all along the shoreline. So we're looking to install a vinyl bulkhead. It would be within the existing footprint of that timber bulkhead along the south. We would be raising that just about 2 feet higher than the existing conditions. The neighbor's bulkhead is already higher than our current as we go further south and wrapping around the point. And then we would be replacing the stone riprap also with the vinyl bulkhead. It would not go out as far seaward as the kind of existing toe of that wall. So it would be also built, within the footprint of the existing. The top of that vinyl would be a little over 1 foot higher than the existing top of the riprap. We're choosing to go with a bulkhead to replace this stone riprap because it can be accomplished from the land. Much smaller equipment can be used for setting that than to try to rebuild a stone revetment. So we think it can be much less disruptive to the river and to the buffer zone. There will be disturbance though in the buffer zone, and we have come up with restoration notes and plans and plantings. I think with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Before I open it for the commission, a couple of things I want to check with you, John. Do you have the DEP number?
Yes, I saw it came in today, I believe. Let me pull that up for you.
Yes,
It's
we did receive that,
6272.
Tom.
What?
We did receive that.
Okay. What is the
It's-
number?
6272.
6272. Okay. Do you have the comment from the DEMF on this, John?
I have not seen that.
Mr. Chairman, DMF requested a 1-week extension for their review.
Okay, thanks. So that means that, we probably need a continuance to wait for the DMF, but we have one less things to worry about is the DEP number. So question from the commissioner, Bill.
Yeah, I plan to vote for this project, and I don't have any major heartburn, but I want to mention something. This is more to the commission or the public or whatnot. With sea level rise, which is going to be gradual, but it's going to be continuing. We are putting in a lot of bulkheads, more and more and more bulkheads. And I was imagining the rivers becoming bulkheaded, the edges of the rivers. And I was thinking ecologically, what does that do? Well, if you have revetment rock, you have a gradual slope, and aquatic organisms, fish, invertebrates, what have you, are going to seek their depth. And some fish like, shallows and whatnot. And you have a lot of spaces and crevices and whatnot that are in the rock revetment. And so revetment is I think, a superior way of holding banks, along rivers in the water. And I think it becomes like a cumulative impact. And as we know with docks, okay, at what point does it become an unacceptable cumulative impact? But we live on Cape Cod, and the waters are going up. And if we end up bulkheading everything, it's gonna have some long-term adverse ecological impact. But I'm for this project, but I just throw that out. I mean, revetment is better, I think, ecologically, but I'm good with this project. That's my sermon for the day.
Thank you, Bill. Any other comment from the commissioner?
Yeah, I would just, again, given my oceanography background, specializing in nearshore environments, I completely agree with Bill, but I am also in support of this project in front of us.
Thank you, Pete. Any other comment from the commissioner? 10:18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None? Let me try this. John, I'll need a continuance. Is May 6th good for you?
Sure.
So what I'll do is that we can approve this project, but subject to, to the May 6th continuance, waiting for the DMF comment letter. Okay. Could I have a motion to approve this project? We need a annual report for 3 years for the mitigation for the planting planned on the site, and it continues to the May 6th, waiting for the DMF comment.
But if the DMF says you got to do something, and we go, whoa, that's a good idea, are we able to adopt that? Yes?
Yeah. That's why we're waiting for the comment.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
To be added.
Okay. So moved.
Anyone second?
Second,
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see
Thank
you
you, John.
in a week.
Yep. The last NOI is Stu Bonstein, trustee, Gladstone LP, proposed 40 units, multifamily housing, with 4 affordable units to be connected to town sewer with associated parking and drainage at 32 Pleasant Hill Lane, Hyannis, as shown on the Assessors Maps 308, parcel 020. Dan?
Good evening, Chairman Lee, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and also a civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping Stuart Bornstein with another idea on this lot. Some of you may remember we had permitted some multifamily housing many years ago. It was continued a couple of times. Permit Extension Act extended it. And so forth. But eventually he let it lapse. And meanwhile, they changed the zoning, and what had been the former scheme, they require a little bit less parking and they allow another story. So he asked me to redevelop it. I'll share the screen and we can look at what the new proposal is.
Right.
This is a schematic view from the street, the building perspective view in the lower right there. Again, we're near the big brick schoolhouse or the Chart House Village is in Hyannis. To the west of that, there's a little road, kind of a backwater called Pleasant Hill Road, and we're on that. There's a nice office building on the corner, a small house that was built in about 2000 on the corner. I think Stuart sold Joelle that property back then. It's since changed hands. And some of the Deleuze's, Joe Deleuze's heirs live at the end of the road. He was a former building commissioner. We had gone through before the full process where we did an NOI determination. This time, prior to starting, we had Lynn Hamlin redo the RDA. It was DA number 240388824. The Cape Cod Mosquito Control expert testimony that there's a small blue line here that opens up into a ponded area, but they opine that dried up during non-drought periods, and so it was determined not to be a river, as was the case 20 years ago when we first permitted it. So she carefully redelineated the wetland. It changed just a little bit. Very slightly more conservative than the last view, but did auger holes and nice carver course sands. The gist of this project is that we're fully protecting a pristine 50-foot buffer. And the way that we're doing that, as you can see on the plan here, it says shore guard 425 vinyl sheeting along the 50-foot buffer. So we've staked that 50-foot buffer out with survey stakes, accurate within an inch. We'll drive the sheet pile just on the locust side of that. And the reason that we're doing that is it's a sloping site. It's not a tremendous slope, but it's enough where we're kind of looking at a walkout situation. During initial staff review, Ed brought up the fact that you'd like a detail of that. And I apologize for the lateness, but I just did send a detail this evening, and I'll share it with you here. So it's in your, should be in your inbox soon. But this is the 50-foot buffer looking from the right. The edge of the 50-foot buffer is staked in the field. We're going to vibrate in a shore guard 325 sheet pile, and it's a rugged section, not a wimpy. It's more than about a quarter inch thick of vinyl in a Z pattern, which folding makes even paper very strong, and vinyl sheeting is very strong. So that'll hold back easily 3 feet of silt if you were to push up against it. So it goes down 5 feet and up 3. And then we're just simply digging down a little bit. The nice thing about these modular block walls is that you don't have to have a 4-foot frost protection base. They can move a little bit. And again, it's nice sandy soil. So we just dig down about a foot and a half, set in these massive blocks and stack them up. And that lets us level off the parking lot. Cars don't like to be on a slope. So you can see that we, from the street, we have nice handicap access, and it goes down from the 32 area down to 30, 28, and the lowest area is about 27, whereas in the ground is 22, 23-ish at the low side. So it ends up being a 5 or 6 foot wall, gradually getting up to a little bit higher as you get near the building. And then it's basically going to be a walkout building. They don't plan on developing the lower level, but it'll be similar to a walkout foundation over here. But again, the sheeting will be there to help protect the excavation. Again, it's only a 4-foot frost wall, so that 5-foot deep will easily protect it. And then you're a few feet away as well. Some of the other highlights of this, again, the resource area is an old bog system, a former cranberry bog, and associated 50-foot buffer. We're high and dry on this one, about 30 feet above sea level. So the gradual sea level rise, it'll be a while before it gets to this project. Luckily, we're looking at the town took this road back in the 70s. There's not really very good formal drainage on it. So Mr. Bornstein has offered to help the town out, and we're taking the whole end of the road. We're widening the pavement a little bit, introducing a catch basin, a vortex chamber to pull out more TSS, and then 2 infiltration pits. And that'll take easily a 25-year storm from the high point down on that Pleasant Hill, whereas right now you have somewhat unconditioned runoff down towards the wetland off the end of Pleasant Hill Lane during big storms. Again, there's been woods there. It hasn't historically been a problem, but we certainly don't want a problem. And that seemed to be the appropriate way to take care of it, is to donate some drainage to the town, and we'll give them an easement for that as well. That's just between the 50 and the 100. The units are similar. Well, I would say they meet current zoning. The downtown zoning likes the buildings close up to the street, and then the parking kind of the side or the rear behind them. And there's 6-foot buffers to the abutters, 10 foot to the front, 10 foot to the building. So we meet all the required zoning ordinance for the zoning. Again, that's only of interest if we're filed or not. But this will be a site plan review as of right filing type, and we're in the process of preparing the formal site plan review application, which would be, besides the building permit, the last permit after you folks have reviewed it. So all the stormwater from the impervious surfaces on the site are collected and directed to an extensive subsurface stormwater infiltration systems. We've got an attached stormwater report that the drainage calculations indicate full compliance with the state DEP stormwater management guidelines and the town of Barnstable requirements for commercial properties that all stormwater be infiltrated on site. Again, it's whether it's residential or commercial, it doesn't matter. We treat this as a commercial site, and not one drop will leave an impervious surface without being retained under the ground on this one. It's Carver coarse sand and gravel, so it's excellent infiltration material. We've had some older test holes on there, and as part of the site plan review process, we'll probably do one additional test hole, but those logs show up here. We did a construction protocol narrative to go through because it's a sensitive site. Some of the details, meet with the conservation administrator, make sure the forms are filled out, make sure that the vinyl sheet piling is in first. You've got your construction period, operations and maintenance plan, and some other items like that. The site plans are revised through 3/28/25. That was to pick up some comments, again, widening the end of the road. Hans wanted an 8-inch water main instead of a 6-inch. And we have had a few little details like that. The only thing that will change is outside of your jurisdiction, we're adding a separate all water separator for the elevator shafts. They're electric elevators, but there's still a requirement to have a sump, and that's going to go through an all water separator and then be infiltrated on site. But again, there's no concern about hydraulic oil. It'll just be clean water from a sprinkler event. So we're comfortable infiltrating that on site. That's a local policy that the plumbing and engineering have worked out so that they don't have any sewer discharge from that sort of item. So again, the BVW is delineated carefully by Hamlin Consulting. We've got the vinyl sheet pile right on the 50-foot buffer to prevent the construction silt and disturbance of that 50. As we put in the narrative, that a natural 50-foot buffer will be 100% protected. Per your buffer zone bylaw, the proposed project will fully conform with the local buffer zone regulation with respect to the buffer to the wetland. 7043B states that where a 50-foot undisturbed buffer zone exists and is proposed to remain intact, proposed work within the 50 to 100 buffer zone shall not require further buffer zone enhancement. And the vertical sheeting ensures that 50-foot buffer will remain natural and undisturbed. So I think it does clearly meet the spirit and intent of that bylaw, or the letter of that bylaw. And again, I believe, I won't go through every item on here, but we've covered your local and state. You've got the construction protocol that you often look for on larger sites like this. So we'll meet with Ed on site with a contractor and make sure everything is according to Hoyle before starting work. There's the on-town sewer. We are doing a little sewer run down Pleasant Hill. We'll leave stubs for a couple of neighbors. So that's a positive environmental impact of this, is that the former proposal we're going to do on site. It's not in a zone 2, but still, as you know, there's saltwater estuaries that are somewhat sensitive south of here. So better to be on sewer. So Stuart's going to spend the money to do that, run it out to Stevens, then south to a newish pump station that's under in planning down at the intersection. And obviously we won't occupy until that's all connected. So I'll try and keep it short and sweet. I'm sure if any of you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Question from the commissioner, Louise.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, you show that there is a space between the building and the barrier, demarcating the edge of the 50-foot buffer. Do you think that that is going to be enough space for periodic maintenance of the building? And, you know, people need to walk around it to make sure everything is tight and working and so forth and so on?
Yeah, that's a fair question. We've got, again, and to your point too, we have on this addendum that where there is not going to be a vertical wall, we will be marked with the town approved buffer zone markers along there. So a single rail fence or granite monuments where there's no wall, marking that. I think that there is enough. If we look at the plan, there's about 3 feet clear to get through there. Again, you can come from both sides. It's a large building, but you know, the way they build them now with hardy board and AZEC, and there's very, very low maintenance on the buildings. I think we'll be able to get a ladder up there. If we have to come and do a temporary work within the 50 in the future, we'll certainly revegetate it if we had to go into it a little bit. But I would anticipate that could be maintained without going into the 50-foot buffer, utilizing lifts from the side and from the roof and ladders. With the maintenance, low maintenance buildings. It is snug. There's a lot more room on the southwest corner than there is in that little pinch point in the northwest, but I think that it's adequate.
So it's at least 3 feet?
It's approximately 3 feet. Yeah, I can check the CAD
point?
while we're talking, but
At the pinch point?
yes.
Yeah, but 3 feet sounds to me like being pretty tight. I don't know how other commissioners feel about that. The other thing is that I know you've talked about the drainage system being so great that not a drop of water or runoff is going to get from that parking lot into the buffer. But I wonder about that. And so I'm thinking that maybe you might want to consider having something planted on the buffer side of that wall, just in case there are a lot of cars parked along there, and it's asphalt, right? Is it an asphalt surface that you're talking about?
Yeah, so what we would have is a guardrail there with a fence. And then, so that would limit anybody, and there's a Cape Cod berm which contains the water. So the situation is that the water is caught, and every island here has a catch basin in it. So there's not a tremendous amount of water that runs into any particular basin, and that's the way they like to design them now, because it takes more of the TSS, the solids out of the rainwater. But we're capturing that with this. We're capturing this with that one, and then this one we break into two here and here. So there really won't be a tremendous volume that gets into any one particular basin to overtop during a storm. Plus, there's a lip on the asphalt of a few inches. Plus, the blocks, we use a planter top box block with some pervious on top, and then a lip which would contain as well. So I wouldn't think anything would get over there.
It's a certain amount of, with time, material getting down through the asphalt and, down below the guards that you're talking about that then can diffuse into the buffer. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
What is growing in that buffer now?
There's it's basically a pine and oak forest with some underbrush. There's sweet pepper bush that comes up out of the wetland for a ways. Then it gets into a whole bunch of different plants. There's some honeysuckle in there. It's a pretty typical scrub shrub under a canopy. It's wooded.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll let some other commissioners speak.
Thanks, Louise. Bill?
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you tried to respect the 0 to 50 foot buffer. I have some concern about putting literally this vinyl sheet piling right on the 50-foot line. And in a number of projects, I can think of, like 3 or 4 different times, when this came up, our commission has wanted to back it off a little bit. And I know that, you don't have a lot of room in there, and you really kind of shoehorn that thing in as tight as you can. But is there a way, can you put that vinyl sheeting like a couple of feet from the line, 2 or 3 feet? I mean, it's something that we've asked on other projects, and I'm thinking specifically about the parking lot. I can't help but think that you could shrink the parking lot width a little bit. So that's one issue. And the other is you're going to have an apartment complex sitting right on that important 0 to 50 foot buffer that you're really trying to protect. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's going to be a stampede of people in there, and what will become of this 0 to 50 foot buffer? Is there any thought perhaps of putting some kind of a fence up just to keep people, maybe allow a path? I don't know what, but I can only imagine that area becoming like a pretty beat up buffer after you put in an apartment complex with that many apartments.
Well, again, not too many people like to go down into the briars. There would be 10 more to walk up on the road where it's nice and there's no ticks and stuff. Yeah, I think on this one, what really helps out is having a big vertical wall the whole way. It's you're gonna have to spend a little bit of energy to get down to the buffer. We have a fence all along it. The only place you can get down is the stairway way over here.
There is you're saying that there is a wall / fence that's going to be
100%, yeah, all along the buffer. And it looks like this. So your parking lot is up here, and then you've got a guardrail, wooden, tasteful wooden guardrail with a steel backing. So nobody goes over.
Okay, thank you.
A fence, and so you can't get from A to B.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that.
So
thank you.
that would certainly versus an at-grade parking lot give a nice separation. But you could physically, if you wanted to go down a flight of stairs, go down over here. But we're happy to put a fence on the rest of the buffer if you'd like.
Well, no, I think what you described probably along that, I was thinking of the entire parking lot where people might just be wandering down. So
They'll be very much precluded from that.
Any way of backing that thing off the 50-foot buffer?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, you know, we the wetland flags are where they are. You know, they're tight and you've got a 20-foot space and a 24-foot backup and a 6-foot buffer, and that's why we have the wall, is because it's that tight. If we had a room for a 3-to-1 slope or whatever, we absolutely would have backed it up. But we're right on the number there, so we don't really have the option. However, you know, the experience is not cheap to put in that vinyl sheeting, but it's a wonderful protection for that wetland, and it'll be permanent once we install this big high wall and fence up above it. We'll pull the vinyl out, and you'll have more in places, like you had an extra 3 feet here, an extra 2 feet there, and then that's about it. But you know, you'll have a fully intact 50-foot buffer, and not to forget, this particular lot is huge, and it's got a, you know, upland on the far side, and it protects a nice big a wetland system. So you know, this is just a portion of the lot. Not that you could really do too much on the rest of it, but it is that 50-foot buffer will enjoy full protection.
Thanks,
Bill. I just have a quick few comments with Bill's comments. And Dan, is it possible to back off the vinyl sheeting, not 3 feet or 2 feet, but at least back off, you know, 6 inches or something away from the 50-foot? Because to me, you're right, on the 50, it's going to be very tight. Last time when we did this project, the contractor misread the stick and build the fence, build the retaining wall inside the 50. You remember that project?
I do. Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like, well, back it off a little bit, but not 3 feet wide, but at least some distance, and make sure that you label the stakes clearly so that there is no mistakes about reading that thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was unfortunate, but yeah, absolutely.
That was Dan's project.
To your point, we're going to pull it off, you know, a few feet here and there. Absolutely, we're not going to go closer than we have to. And in many places, I can be clear of the 50-foot, but in some places, unfortunately, I got to be pretty much right on it. I'll look into a little bit thinner wall system to see if we could gain a few inches as part of it. Absolutely will look at that.
The other thing too is that
might be able to gain a few inches.
Yeah. Besides just labeling it, I think it may be worthwhile to have you or your engineer to meet with the contractor before they put the sheet pile, so you know, to confirm that is the line that they are installing the vinyl sheet.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, and I believe our construction protocol does call out on-site meetings, access staging areas, means and methods, necessary precautions to protect the property from disruption during the construction process, and then we're going to field staking of work, verification by licensed surveyor prior to installation of work limit line, coordinate layout work with owner and contractor on that sheeting. So we've got that in the construction protocol, and we absolutely will do that.
Okay. To the other question for Louise, kind of mentioning on the tight corner there, I'm thinking that you are, how tall is this building? 4-story?
Yeah, it's down around 23, 24, and the first floor is 33. So you're talking about a 10-foot pour there. So down 4 and up 10, it'd be a big wall right there.
Right, but I'm thinking about the building wise. You know, from that corner, how are you going to put the siding and all this stuff in there? Do you need to have some kind of stair put up there for the contractor to put up the siding?
Scaffolding or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll absolutely have some scaffolding there. We've only got about 3 feet, as I said, so it's a little bit tight on that one pinch point. I'll talk to the architect, but you know, if we need to, I guess we could come back and ask for a 1 or 2 foot incursion to be heavily revegetated. But I think we're comfortable moving forward right now that they could do tight staging and make it work with the about 3 feet.
Okay, Angela.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yeah, Dan, speaking of the construction protocol on page 3, where it says work completion, I'm just confused on the temporary mulch verbiage. In other words, upon completion of this construction, the landscaping shall construct as the plan site needed grading and everything. It seems to me that the mitigation should be a priority. And please, could you explain why they would need temporary mulch there?
So that's basically boilerplate. And in this particular case, we are revegetating. Your language has historically allowed some temporary mulch to get the plants vegetated. When we do mitigation plantings, generally you plant them so dense that they fill up like a mini canopy and you don't have any reason for mulch. But while they're first starting out, your guidance always used to anyway allow some temporary mulch. So that's where that language came from. In this particular case, we're not really proposing. It's all native, rhodies and red oaks and things that are except for maybe the hydrangeas are native, but it's all outside of the 50, so it's not really applicable in this particular instance. But that's where that comes from on the boilerplate is temporary mulch around the plantings to try and keep the weeds from overtaking the natives.
If temporary irrigation, 2 years minimum duration, I'm not sure what you're asking for here with the 2 years minimum duration. You're going to irrigate it temporarily for 2 years?
Yeah, if that's according to you guys, if you're doing work, close to the buffer, you don't like to have permanent irrigation there, but you will allow, to get us through the droughty summer, temporary irrigation. So again, it's boilerplate. It probably really doesn't apply here. If you'd like, I could pull it out, but I think we could all just agree that it really doesn't apply to this particular project.
Okay, I just questioned it because I didn't understand it. I hadn't seen it before. Thank you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Any other question from the commissioner?
Yeah, Tom, Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeff.
Yes, a question. How deep is the foundation on the 4-story? Having a hard time reading. 110 by 40, the long rectangle. How deep is that foundation?
It's just a minimum 4 feet below finished grade. So that would be all we need for that. The spread foot, they'll have some likely center columns to hold up most of the weight. The perimeter is just a 2-foot strip foundation, and it'll be down 4 feet to the bottom of footing.
So what is the over dig on this foundation? Is typically foot for foot. So typically an over dig is 4 foot. Or you telling me that you're going to drive the retaining wall first?
Yeah.
But could you explain the process of the retaining wall on the back side of this large building right here? Because I don't see any way possible that you can get around that pin side with a wall after the fact. No chance without moving into the 50.
Right. So here's the situation here. This wall peels off the 50 and goes straight into the building underneath these stairs right here. So if you look, the grade over here is the natural 23. You got a 21 contour, 22, and then a 23 comes through here. So there's 0 grade change down there. We're putting a temporary vertical sheeting 5 feet in the ground. About 3 feet away from that, we're digging down 4 feet. So that will be protective of the buffer. You can drop it 4 feet. Let's say you're about 2 foot off the sheeting with the excavation, and you're about 4 feet below, and it's just a temporary condition. Then you'll bring that right back up to the 23 when you backfill the foundation, and then of course it will go up from there vertically in the air. So the wall that you're speaking of, you'll have 15 to 20 feet to build the wall here. And again, I think it would be instructive just to look at the wall section. The way you go in is you start at the ground. You only dig down about 18 inches to 2 feet. And again, you're behind a sheeting, and then you build them up. And as you build up, you backfill. So you're never on the downhill side of the wall.
Dan, that's not the side I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rear portion of the wall, the rear portion of the building.
Yeah, so the rear portion of the building acts as a retaining wall. It is a poured stem wall that goes up and it'll have probably counterforts on the back side of it, and some bracing. But it acts basically as a 10-foot retaining wall.
Yeah, but my question is though, what is, there's no way this can happen. The overdig is gonna be, you can't do that without some sort of shoring first.
Well, that's why we're putting we're putting an 8-foot sheeting right on the lot line, coming back about, at the minimum of 3 feet and going down 4. So you'll have a protection down gradient.
So that's my question. So all the sheeting is gonna go first before?
Absolutely, 100%. Before we do anything on this site, we're gonna protect that 50 before any clearing or anything like that. The first thing we do is carefully go along and drive the sheeting on the 50-foot buffer. Then we come back and do our footing excavation for the wall and the building.
Okay, that wasn't super clear to me. I apologize.
Okay, yeah, no, but you're right. It would be impossible to do it any other way. You couldn't even get over there with a vibratory to get the sheeting in. It'd be a big mess, yeah. So
Yeah.
first order business, and that is, we did spell that out, in the literature. It's buried in there in the construction protocol.
Yeah, I still think it's way too tight to the to that rear line right there. I mean, you've got
If you'd like to have it be 5 feet, you guys say the word, and on that corner, we'll have the architect cut a corner off the building, and we'll have it 5-foot minimum. Just if you'd like to do that, we can make that happen. It'll add a little bit to the expense, but it's not. If you're more comfortable with 5 feet on that corner, it will.
Why not just pull the whole building away from the line?
Yeah, we can. There's a 0 front setback, so you could do that. But again, now you're very, in my opinion, awkwardly close to the road, even though the town seems to like that to be so close to the road.
No. What I'm suggesting is take that rectangle, pull it away from the 50-foot, which the board is always, super protective of. Okay, and shrink the building in the front, the 90 by 50 building, shrink that by 4, 6, 8 feet. I don't know the building to the right, not that one, the other one.
Yeah. This building hits the road right here in a couple of feet.
Yeah.
I believe it's a 0-foot setback in this, but so there would be a couple of feet to move that, but that's about.
That's an incredible jam job. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, it's snug and it'll be a trick to do it, but it's if you go down to the dock side right now, we're putting one of those vertical walls about a foot off the lot line, and it's working fine. You just have to be careful when you do it. Of course, that building is back a little bit further, honestly. But again, it's a different style. This is only a 4-foot frost wall right there, whereas the dock side has a deeper footing.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other question from the commissioner?
Given that Dan says that they would be willing to pull that building back to some extent, why wouldn't we request that? It moves it away from the buffer. Some of us have expressed concern about there being precious little space between the building and the wall. That would certainly be a good direction for them to go as far as we're concerned, right?
We'd be happy to provide 5 feet on that corner, 5-foot minimum, be no problem. If you could condition it on that, I'd be happy to submit a revised plan showing that.
The other option is if you kind of rotating that building towards the parking lot a little bit and give us that 5 feet, that may be an option there. I don't know whether there is enough space, but you can rotating that building to give you that space there.
Right.
Yeah, it would be close it's pinching a walkway a little bit, but we could look at that. Yeah. That would make the construction a lot easier than taking a corner off the building. That's for sure.
Right. Any other question from the commissioner?
Yeah, this looks fine. Let's vote.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, do we have to?
No, I still have to go for public comment and stuff like that.
Well, also there needs to be follow-up about the possibility of rotating that building. What, to get more space
Yeah,
between.
and again, it's, I would propose that it's a very minor modification. I'll commit to a 5-foot minimum from the work limit line to the corner of the building, one way or the other. It'll be almost unnoticeable on the overall scheme of things, but we'll make that happen.
Okay. 10:18, any public comment on this?
Lisa Deleuze, if you have comment or question, you can go ahead.
Lisa, can you tell us your address? Lisa?
It says she's unmuted. Lisa or Jeffrey?
Lisa? The other one I saw on the screen is Betty.
Hello.
Yes, Betty. Who's this?
This is Lisa. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good.
What is your address?
My address is 25 Pleasant Hill Lane, Hyannis, Mass.
Okay.
And that building you're talking about is about 10 feet from my house to the side of it. I strongly object to the closeness of it. And also that pond river has never been dry. And I spoke at another council meeting at one time, and they said that the mosquito people said that it was dry. I grew up on Mitchell's Way, 90 Mitchell's Way, mom and dad, Joe and Dolores Deleuze. And as children, we used to jump over that bridge, and I live right on that bridge. And it's never been dry, so there's some miscommunication and misinformation from the mosquito people. And I'm not sure who I request, but I'd like to know those states that they said there was no water in that stream. It's never been dry. I've grown up here, 60-something years old. It's never been dry. So there's a falsity going around put out by somebody. So I would like the exact dates. They had the reports of when that stream was dry. Please, somebody tell me where I can get those so we can look further into this.
Okay.
Because this same pond, the little stream behind my house runs up underneath the Mitchell's Way and goes into Betts Pond, which goes out underneath where the golf course was. And then from underneath the golf course, it goes down into, I believe, C Street Beach in that marsh. So it's very, very sensitive area. And for this enormous building to be put in this tiny little space, and the fragility of the area. I mean, there's all kinds of wildlife. There's cranberry bogs, and we all know that cranberry bogs, they're good. They filter out lots of stuff, and I think it's a big mistake and a travesty to put up these huge four-story buildings. I mean, literally, it's probably 20 feet from the side of my house. I don't know why they can't put it up further towards the middle of the road. This was all residential up until 2 years ago, and then they changed it. So I'm feeling kind of trapped being down here with all that, not to mention that the years it's going to take to develop this and just the complete mental anguish for hearing building and cutting down hundreds and hundreds of trees. It's not fair to residents that have been here over 60 years. It's just not fair. And I don't believe, and this is one of those things that make people believe that you should not mix commercial with residential. This is a perfect example why people would not do this. Disregard the folks and the environment. I mean, we got fox, we got everything down here. You know, we need trees. They clean our air. The cranberry bog cleans, and they just want to toss it away like it doesn't matter. I want to live long and breathe good. I don't know about you.
Thank you for your comments. Betty? Betty?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you first to Lisa. I think she made some terrific comments. This is, of course, by right in the downtown zoning area, and it's right on the edge of it. And it's unfortunate, and I know the ad hoc zoning committee has come up forward with some amendments that it did seem flawed that you take this up. Like Lisa says, I don't know if any of you folks have walked this site or walked in the area there. I mean, I see big white areas where there's actually very small residential properties there. I mean, they're just blanks on this. And that seems to be the way that we look at a lot of projects without the context. And I know it's not your purview, but it's just very sad to me that this is happening. I don't know why that entire building complex can't be pulled over. I guess it is east if north is up on this plan. And the parking lot could be the buffer for the 50-foot. I mean, it just seems absurd to push that large building. You've made some comments about it. Why couldn't you wrap the entire thing with parking and pull that building over? And also think about the experience of the residents of the building. I mean, look at that. What are their windows looking at? I mean, it's just it's a really weird way to jam into a lot. And I find it very disturbing that we're at this point. We did this by right zoning, to encourage housing, to encourage development. But I don't think anyone in their wildest imagination would want to encourage this. And I do feel, like Lisa said, this is a beautiful piece of property. And the on the north side, the top of the drawing, there's a road there that's in that, small residential neighborhood back there. I think those lots are owned by, or they're conservation lots or something there. Why? I mean, that's really the question. Why? Why would you do this? I mean, it just, it just boggles my mind that why you do this. And, I know it's by right, but are you doing what is right by right? Or are you just jamming something in there? So I would ask you to look at, as I say, wrapping the parking at the 50-foot and pulling this entire thing away from the Duluth area. The Duluth family has been here generationally. It's a precious little area back there. We ought to have some respect for our neighbors when we build. And, again, that big white rectangle there, that's another, small house. And I just think it's a bit sad when, by right turns into this. Thank you so much for your ability to comment.
Thank you, Ben. Charlie?
Tom?
Yes.
I'd like to have a comment too, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
If there's time.
Yep.
First of all, I want to say that I really admire and appreciate Mr. Ojala's plan. I'm not criticizing the plan itself, other than maybe the comments that have been made about how little room there is between the back of the building and the 50-foot. But in my opinion, so this isn't anything to do with Concom, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is probably the worst project for a residential. I have seen since I became a counselor. This is taking a pristine, idyllic area with a neighborhood of a few homes, and it is plopping this huge project down and destroying their lives in the process. Now there are 40 parking spaces, one for each unit. I can see not only the traffic being something that is going to be extremely annoying, and this is a very small neighborhood. And this is going to turn it into, it's a horrible situation. The town should have bought this land a long time ago and saved it. But now we have this project, and there will be parking. I guarantee you, there will be parking on Pleasant Hill Lane if and when all these units are occupied. There will be spillover parking, and I just think that this is a horrible idea. Four-story building in the middle of this pristine area, and I just want to assure Mr. Ojala. He said that the town likes these buildings to be right up on the street. Well, I don't like it. And if I can do something about that to change it, I will. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other public comment, Channel 18?
Seeing none.
None?
Yes. Hello.
Who's this? Jeff? Jeffrey?
Yeah, Jeffrey DeLuz. How you doing?
What is your address?
I'm right here at 1 Pleasant Hill Lane, 25 Pleasant Hill Lane, apartment 1. We're right next to my sister's house, right on the corner here, right at the very base.
Okay.
I object to this project. This is one of 2 projects that are going on. This is the one that we're discussing now, but right across from them is Jenny Force's old place, which Stuart Bornstein also purchased. That was, and
it's historic.
Yeah, it's a historic building.
They can't.
When I first was addressed to this problem, I asked what were they going to do, and they said they would keep it to a single home dwelling. Then Stewie Bornstein bought it, and it went from a single dwelling to 16 to 25 to 40 people to try a 40-unit place, 4 stories tall, with a driveway and a parking lot 10 feet from my living room window. They got to cut down all kinds of trees and nonsense. This coincides right next door to our project, right down to 25 plus. He's got both properties. He's going to have 3 4-story buildings all jammed in the one-way street, which you has on dead end. You can't. There's no drive-through. You're gonna have to go down one way and out the other. And the pond stream that runs behind there, the marsh area, which Daniel, whatever his name was, said it was dry. It's never been dry. I've taken care of that stream for over 30 some odd years because no one else does it. It floods and I have to unclog it. It backs up all the way up, and all the runoff from Trout House Village goes right underneath Stevens Street into that pond from Stewie Bornstein's place, and all this runoff from all these apartments with the parking lot down there right on that marsh is going to run right into that stream and pollute it even more. And this nonsense about all these buildings parked jammed in here is, there goes our trees, our wildlife, our grass, our privacy, the quietness. Is going to be a jungle. It's going to be a mess. But like he said, the overspill off, people won't be able to park. They'll park on the street. They'll park on the corners. They'll be in the way. It's a nightmare. And to put this kind of place in this little corner of heaven and to turn it into basically hell is what it's going to be. And I don't know why, from the very top of the hill, it goes from residential to my house residential, to my sister's residential, to Luis's residential. And then all of a sudden now it's commercial in the middle of it.
That's because the town
And the town just, somebody made money off of changing it from commercial from residential to commercial, and then jammed all these monster buildings right in the middle of everybody's privacy.
They don't care.
And you're going to look out your window and have car lights in my windows and people running all over the place and noise and confusion. It's a disaster. Who thought of this nonsense? It's
Well,
environmental.
thank you for your comments.
Concerned about.
This is the Concom. We can only deal with the conservation issues. As far as the building closeness, that's more of a site plan review zoning questions that I don't think that that's not in our jurisdictions.
It's all involved with the conversation area. It's all conservation area because all that runoff has got to go somewhere, and it's going to go right into the streams and right into everything. Never mind cutting down everything and go from trees to pavement, paved paradise to put up a parking lot. You're just going to have nothing but asphalt and confusion and nastiness. There'll be no more harmony, no more rabbits, no more foxes, no more squirrels, no more nothing.
No more clean air.
No more clean air, you name it. It'll just be one big gigantic slab of concrete, massive confusion and pollution.
Thank you. Dan, can you verify whether that stream is dry or not? Or what information do you have for that?
Yeah, it was determined 23 years ago. It was looked at by John Doan, and he stated in letter form that stream does dry up occasionally during non-drought periods. I don't think there's any question it dries, to just about nothing when there's a drought. I was out there and I saw even further down gradient where it goes under the road there. We're in a drought now, and at one period in time, you could see there was a little bit of water, but zero flow. Certainly, once we got rains again, it started flowing again. But that's their testimony. That has there is a pond system, so it's an intermittent stream. It's been determined to be an intermittent stream. The RDA is good for 3 years. We're locked in on it. And Gabrielle, the new agent, also wrote a new letter reiterating that, yes, their folks say that it does dry up during non-drought. In their opinion, it's an intermittent stream, and that testimony is generally held to be accurate, and it was relied on by us and the commission to make that determination. I would note that there was an old bog system up there. It turns into a pond, so there wouldn't even be a river for most of the site anyway. It would be an embayment, so it would only be a portion that would be affected by a riverfront. But in our opinion, it's in the determination of, and that's why we did it before we spent the money on all the plans, is to make sure that it wasn't a river, and we locked in the resource areas, and that is a situation. So that's, I guess, what I could say about that. On the zoning side, we're allowed to go to 0 feet to Ms. DeLuz's home. We gave her a 24-foot buffer between her home and the lot line. I don't know quite how close her house is to the lot line, but we kept it 24 feet away. I think it's pretty respectful. We're putting some shrubs back there. She's welcome to plant too, and we could work with her if needed on that. We fully meet zoning with respect to the 1 car per space, the number of stories, the landscape buffers, the yard setbacks. And we're connecting everyone in the neighborhood to town sewer that wants to connect. Right now, they're dumping right in the aquifer, their effluent. And we're going to give them a stub, and if they're willing to connect, we sure hope they would, to remove their effluent and septic flow from the intermittent stream area. And that'll be all treated to a high level, very high level, by the very capable folks over at the wastewater pollution prevention plant. So we'd encourage them to connect when we do make it available. I think that'll be better for the environment. I guarantee that all the stormwater runoff will go into the ground. It's Carver coarse sands. I've designed these all my life. We know how to do them. We don't let any water go into the end of the aquifer. Right now, there's uncontrolled runoff from the end of Pleasant Hill that goes into the buffer. We'll stop that. And I think in those respects, it's better. Yes, we'll lose a few trees, but you've got a full 50-foot buffer to that nice area. You'll be surprised how many foxes and animals will run along the buffer, along the lower area where they won't be disturbed by the humans who will be 6 to 10 feet above them. I think it meets your performance standards, it meets zoning, and with the adjustment to a full 5 feet, I think it'll take care of a few other concerns, and we sure would appreciate approval. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Ed, do you have any more update or any more information on that intermittent stream?
Nothing since the last letter, but you recognized it as a intermittent stream back last August with the filing. Dan gave the number. I'm sorry, I don't have the number with me. But that was again based on a letter from Cape Cod Mosquito Control. That's the second letter confirming that. It was shown that back 20 years ago, I guess, and it was confirmed again just last year. You accepted that intermittent stream status. So that area, especially, most of it is more wetland, a wetland area bordering vegetated wetland area. So most of that is not going to be considered part of the stream anyhow. The stream portion is much closer to the south. I think it's southwest portion of the parcel there. So it was a very small portion on this property that is in the intermittent stream.
Thank you, Ed. Luis, your hand was up before.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. In listening to Ed and to Dan, I'm a little confused and just want to firm up some information in terms of letters that came from various people having to do with the stream. And so there was, as I understand it, from what Ed said, about a year ago or less, a letter came in saying it was an intermittent stream. Was that written by somebody observation, or was this sort of hearsay reporting maybe what was observed years ago? Is it really a current observation?
The letter was written by the superintendent of the Cape Cod Mosquito Control based on field observations from her field crews. The field crews have been operating that area since 1932, when the commission first came into play. The whole point behind the Riverfront Protection Act is that you have very few ways to show that something is not a river. You have to either demonstrate it by 4 consecutive days of recording no flow during a no drought period. If you don't have a drought, if you're in a drought period, the only other way you can prove that no flow situation is from another competent source. DEP considers the mosquito control project to be a competent source, and so back in 1990 or thereabouts, I believe, John Doan first made the first letter when they first came through. And again, it was confirmed again just this past August. You've already made the decision and have called it an intermittent stream.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Angela.
Yeah, just for clarification, has the DPW stormwater report been reviewed?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I'm sort of troubled. We have a couple of counselors who, don't like this project and real opposition from the neighbors. And I just, we get into these controversies. I just want to say, sort of for the record, the Conservation Commission has some jurisdiction for some things. And basically what we do under the Wetlands Protection Act and our ordinances is we protect 8 wetland functions. And when we think a function is potentially going to be harmed, then we can say no. And we protect buffers. because of the pollution impact. Because, you know, if you have a 50-foot buffer, that's a lot of protection. And that's why we make a big deal about a 50-foot buffer. And we deal with, you know, groundwater supply, and we deal with flood storage, and we deal with, you know, fisheries impacts, and we deal with shellfish impacts, and we deal with wildlife impacts. There are 8 things, and we have to think about that. And if we don't get it right legally, if you will, then the applicant can appeal. And it goes to the DEP, and then we have mud on our face because we sort of arbitrarily said, well, you know, traffic was an issue, or the commercial impacts, or this poor, you know, it seems like a zoning thing. It should have been dealt otherwise. So I'm like thinking, I feel like I'm sympathetic to the neighbors. I'm sympathetic to the lights and the traffic in my eyes argument and the chaos. But under our jurisdiction, what we have a right to approve or not, you know, we just have certain things. And so I feel like, you know, Tom's going to say, well, we're going to approve this. And can we move it a little bit to get away from that 50? Yeah, we want to do that. But we can't just say, no can do here, because then it becomes, we're running amok with our own regulations, and we would be overturned. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, for saying that, because that's what I was mentioning, that, you know, under our conservation's jurisdictions, we have only limited capacity in terms of rejecting or a proposal regarding this. This project is have more questions on terms of the zoning questions than the conservation questions. But that's where I come from.
Yeah, Tom.
Hi, Jeff.
Yes. Bill, I heard everything you just heard. And I don't disagree with you, but I want to say this is my 10th or so meeting since starting back in late January. And certainly there's been a couple of controversial ones here tonight, but I have to agree with the counselor. This application is the worst one I've seen in 10 meetings. This is just a complete jam show, and it's just pushing the threshold. It's epically pushing the threshold on the 50-foot, and I just felt that I should state that. So, FYI.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. So let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project, but subject to the chair and the DPW to review of the stormwater report, and have a pre-construction meeting with the staff, and the building should be, the tight corner on the building should provide at least 5 feet for a separations from the vinyl retaining wall for the constructions. So.
And do we add, if the site plan review changes anything, they have to return back to us, correct?
Yeah, they have to.
Okay. I just wanted it clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
So moved.
Anyone second? Roll call.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Kashulik.
No.
Sampu.
Aye.
Tangney, aye, and Lee.
Aye.
That's a 5-1.
Thank you.
Appreciate your careful consideration very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 continuous. The first one is Jean Turnbull. Construct 2 additions to existing dwelling and large deck, add second story and balcony to existing garage, provide mitigation planting at 351 Hunkanex Road, Sandyville, as shown on the assessor's map 233 parcel 041. This is a continuance from April the 1st. Louise is not on the quorum. And then there's also a revised plan dated April the 15th. Arlene?
Thank you. Arlene Wilson, AM Wilson Associates for Jean Turnbull. Let me see if I can share the screen. There we go.
Yeah.
So this is the revised plan, and the commission had asked us to see if we could do two things. The first was to limit the size of the deck extension, which was in the 50-foot, and then to add some more mitigation plantings. So we have reduced the deck. We've actually eliminated the expansion of that deck, although we're going to trade off the existing hardscape stairs for a little bit more flat level deck area. But the result of that is that the new hardscape in the 50 has been reduced from 203 square feet to 150 square feet. So that's down by 53. The mitigation in this area is and total for the site, because the deck extension is reduced, we need 212 square feet less overall. That means the total mitigation requirement is 1,011 square feet. But we have provided additional mitigation to what is actually required. So the mitigation goes up from 1,223 square feet to 1,780 square feet, a total of 760 square feet in excess of what the mitigation calculations actually would require. And beyond that, in the interest of time and everybody getting too cranky, I'm happy to answer questions, but I think we've done what the commission asked of us.
Thank you, Arlene. I think you have done what we're asking you to do. Questions? Angela?
No, that's what I was going to say. Thank you after a lengthy discussion last time for coming back with this wonderful revised plan of exactly what we asked for. Thank you very much. I have no problem with this.
Any other question from the commissioner?
Yeah, I do.
Bill?
I have more of a statement than a question, and that is that, it isn't what I asked for. I did not want that additional addition that was in there. I considered that to be hardscape creep into the 0 to 50. And this was a project where basically, previous mitigation plantings didn't really meet expectations. And so, that's always been my concern. That being said, the fact that you are putting in another 769 square feet makes me reluctantly supportive of this project. And I hope that we will have ample demarcation of the mitigation zones, the mitigation areas where you are putting in this mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you. On the drawing, it's showing some demarcations being labeled in that. Yeah. Any other question from the commissioner? Any public comment? Channel 18.
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date April the 15th? And also we need the annual report for 3 years.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Hearn.
A reluctant aye.
Thank you. And Lee.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
If I can take things out of order for this one, let me go to Lisa first. Lisa Redling Adley, Adline trustee to propose the project proposed the management of approximately 19,620 square feet of invasive planting management and restorations at 1694 Main Street, contoured as shown on the Assessors Map 017, Parcel 017. And this is a continuance from April the 15th. and I was absent, so I'm not in the quorum. And otherwise, all the commissioners are on this quorum. See, there is a revised plan date April the 21st, showing that there is a 4-foot path. So let me go with Stephen.
Hi. Thank you, Tom. Good evening, Chair. Stephen Lee, representing the applicant with Wilkinson Ecological Design, project manager. And yes, quite simply, just to briefly review, oh, sorry, I'll start sharing my screen here. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for your input in the initial hearing. Just coming back this time with a revision showing the 4-foot wide footpath to remain following the successful Phragmites management and restoration in the project area. The applicant is aware that this is to be a footpath only and that no machine treatment is to be utilized in its maintenance. From there, yeah, just to touch base again, the Phragmites will be managed with our previously permitted bundle cut and wipe methodology, as well as the secondary hatch area is just we've requested spot treatment of mainly we're just seeing some Asiatic bittersweet start to appear in that area, so just so we get that covered if we're treating invasives in this area. With that, I'd be happy to respond to any questions following this revision.
Stephen, do you need an ongoing conditions for invasive removal?
That would be preferable for the project area. I know with when we have successful Phragmites management, I know with Mushy Marsh Pond, there's plenty of Phragmites out there. We'd appreciate having that ability to continue Phragmites management.
Thank you. Any question from the commissioner? Seeing none. 10:18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date April the 21st with the following? 1, allowing the ongoing conditions for invasive control of removal. And 2nd is the annual report for 3 years.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Foster.
Louise?
This is the one you can do, Louise, from last time. Is she there? Is she unmuted?
Sorry, aye.
Sorry, Hearn.
Aye.
Kashulik.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening.
Let me go back to the second one.
Chairman, I'm stepping out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Xenon Mariziwa SE to construct a dock including a boardwalk, pier, ramp, and float at 251 Green Dune Drive, Centerville, as shown on the Assessors Map 245 Parcel 033. This is a continuance from April the 1st. Louise is not in the quorum on this one. And there is a revised plan date April the 2nd. There may be another revised plan date, but let me go to Jose.
Hello, good evening, members of the board. I can share the screen. Are you able to see? So from our last meeting, we went in front of the Waterways Committee and the NOI was approved. We received the shellfish survey from the town biologist, and it came exactly with the same results that we had on our third-party shellfish survey, which is the area is not suitable for shellfish settlement and recruitment. We revised the plans, like you mentioned. We also did additional revisions to the plans today and submitted electronically to include comments from Agent Edwin. We also received the report from the Division of Fishery today as well, which have some recommendations that I believe we can make as conditions, hopefully, tonight. Also on the screen is the revised plans. And, at this point, we have done everything that we were asked for. I will open up for questions right now without, going too deep into it and go straight to the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. We did receive the DMF letter, and it's dated today, and it's in your email. There's a few comments in there. I'm not going to read through that right now because there is some more bigger questions that I need to clarify. One, if I remember right, the initial applications was kind of like a non-motorized vessels for that pier. And then this afternoon, I kind of saw that I wanted to do it as a motorized pier.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to clarify that. It was at the time when we first put the project before you, we had the options open. In fact, that's actually one of the comments you made, that we needed to specify that. And at the time, we also did not have the review from the waterways, which now we do for a fact. And nothing is closer than 200 feet because, sometimes there are moorings that are not in place and only the harbor master department knows about. So at this point, we do know that there is nothing within the 200 feet. So that makes not an issue for navigation, okay? Now we do also know confirmation from the shellfish survey that the area is not suitable for shellfish. So that allows us to have 1 foot separation from the bottom to the propeller, okay? If it was found an area that is suitable for shellfish, we would have to provide 30 inches instead. So that is the only change. And now we are, in fact, confirming that we are looking for permit for a small draft, a motorized dock, and the vessel will have to meet the requirements as they are called on 703.
Jose, this is conservation. When we file something, we need to specify at least what you are looking for. We are not looking for options. We don't talk about options. When you say motorized boat as an option, at that time, everybody's looking at this as a non-motorized dinghy, not motorized options. So it's 2 different stories. And when I learned about it this afternoon, I kind of we need to go back to the waterway and harbor master to see whether there is a problem or not. When they look at this is a non-motorized pier.
Yeah, well, we did talk to them, though, and that's something else that is probably a miscommunication, but the videotapes are there.
No.
And we did mention to them that we were going to have an outboard motor in here. So, yeah, if we do have to go back, then yes, we'll go back. I don't see an issue here. To be honest with you, we are going to meet the depths and all the requirements that are in 703. But if that is what you want, we are hoping to get a motion with that condition today.
No, we need some comments from the waterway harbor master and shellfish, town biologist. So I asked Ed to send out that email. Ed, did we get anything back?
Yes, we did have a response almost immediately from Harbor Master Brian Taylor, who forwarded that the new knowledge that the proposal is going to be a motorized, motorized dock, and that he had forwarded it to the Waterways Committee chairman, and that he believed, or he said that the Waterways would have to see the proposal again before. So their next meeting is May 20th. So we would be able to make a decision after that, which the next meeting after that May 20th hearing is May 27th.
Thank you, Ed.
But they did require that it's going to come. It has to come back to Waterways.
Right. And we also have not heard back from the town biologist yet, whether it will go back to her review or not. But I assuming it has to go back just to be sure, we get all the...
Mr. Sherman, the area is, the report does say that it's not suitable for shellfish. So I don't know what do you expect to get back from her.
Well, let me make that determination when we get the comment back from her. Okay. I just want to be sure that we get all the information before we make the final decisions. The other thing that we need, though, is, what kind of boat are you looking for? Because that has tie into the draft of the boat, and you only have 2.5 feet water. And so what kind of boat are you looking at? We usually need that information to decide that, whether this is appropriate or not.
Okay. Yes.
Or you have to change the boat.
Yes, it definitely going to be, yes, we are going to work in providing you that. It's definitely going to be a boat that can provide the separation that you need. It's going to be a boat especially made for shallow waters.
Okay. So I need a before I do that, Angela, you have a question?
No, I was just asking for clarification. So the proposal change is a filing issue. So we're going to need a continuance. I'm just trying to make sure I have that correctly.
Yeah, we need additional information and additional comment from the harbor master and waterway and town biologists to make sure everybody is understand this is a motorized pier applications. Okay.
Yep.
And we need the specification for the boat. So, Jose, I'm looking for a continuance to May 27th. Are you okay with that?
May 27th. When is your next meeting?
It's not my next meeting. It's the harbor master. They have their meeting is May 20th, I think.
Right, but what I'm thinking is I can reach out and, obviously refer to the tape, which is the meeting was recorded. So the fact that he's saying that he didn't know it was a motorized, it's kind of questionable to me at this point. So that's what I'm thinking is I can reach out and trying to get, something written from them before that, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm not sure you can get that information before that. Ed or Kim, what is the next available date besides the 27th? 13? Or
no, we've already passed the. Well, I guess.
No, this is May.
Yeah, for May. It would be a continuance, so you could continue to May 13th, but again, Waterways Committee doesn't meet until May 20th.
Yeah, that's why I proposed the 27th.
Right.
Well, let's go to the May 27th.
Okay.
Could I have a motion to continue?
Mr. Chairman, are there any other questions or comments from the board that we can hear about now? So we don't hear about the comments the same day of the meeting, please, if you don't mind.
And Tom, could I just say something? Because to clarify, I think the commissioners, I don't want to speak for everybody, have made their comments. The issue here is that the proposal change is a filing issue. So this has to be refiled and gone through all of the committees again so that they see it as the refile. So I don't think that we have any additional comments at this point. Correct me if any of you guys out there do.
Right, and that's what I'd like to confirm. Thank you.
Well, we make some comment this afternoon in terms of the concrete at the bottom of the piling and all that stuff.
Yes, and all those were addressed already.
And then there is also a flow stop that you need to have installed at 12 inches above the bottom.
Yep.
And then it's the specification of the boat that we need in order to make that determinations. So
the new filing could have additional questions that we haven't had till now because he has to do a new filing. I understand. Thank you.
right. Well, not necessarily.
No,
The
plans have already been revised. So
yeah. Could I have a motion to continue this application to May 27?
So moved.
Anyone second?
Second.
Roll call.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have one set of minutes,
Thank you.
April the 1st, 2025.
Can I make a motion to accept the minutes?
I have a question. On April 1, I believe I submitted some changes to you, Angela.
Yes, and they
And
were sent to him and they were made. They were corrected.
I was just looking at my mail. I didn't see a revision that I could confirm that. So I don't.
I was away, so I'm not sure.
Did you see them?
I did when I originally did it with Kim last week, but I'm not sure what happened after that. Kim, do you have them?
Well, Bill, do you want to review it first? I mean, we can table this into next hearing.
I would. I don't think we got the April 1st. That was the one where we were talking about that dock that got pretty heated. And I had 2 or 3 comments, and I just looked at my mail and I did not see a revision to the April 1. So I'm like going, huh? What happened? I do know I sent them to Angela, though.
I saw them and I talked to Kim, but maybe it was my job to send them around and I didn't do that. So we can wait. Can we move this then?
I would like to see them, and then we can vote next time.
Yeah, we can table this to May the 6th.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Our next meeting is 6:30 on May the 6th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. It's 8:57.